Tom works for AT&T Uverse. Don't throw anything at him. But if you have any billing questions, he's your man right here.
No. Here's his email.
No. Okay, today I thought we would start out with a few slides just to talk about why this is so important. Continuous delivery of code, if you're on the IT side, if you're developing code. So my take on this whole thing is, before you jump in the cloud, my personal recommendation is to do that first. Because if you jump right into the cloud and you're just sort of a conventional shop who hasn't really taken on the continuous delivery and continuous integration steps, your economic benefit to going to the cloud is much reduced. And there's a high likelihood, in my humble opinion, that you'll take your bad habits with you if you go to the cloud without doing some of those things, okay? You certainly have to work on you have to change your change management. Because we know that if you're in a conventional shop and your change management process is turning the VM crank, right? You're just spitting out VMs and you're at hundreds of them. And if you don't have any accounting involved in it, and you go to your shop like that without changing those, what happens when you go to the cloud? You get a nice surprise, right, after the first month or two. You don't want that billing just to hit you in the face and, hey, it's not a success, it's a failure. We're getting out of the cloud. It cost us all this money. You cannot just turn the VM crank, the Ec2 instance, if you will, without changing those controls. So continuous integration, continuous delivery, we're doing our development, and you know, if you're using Jenkins, you're integrating the code, you're merging for those that are more infrastructure, they're merging their code together. They are putting it into QA in an automated fashion. They're testing it, they're unit testing, and then they're merging it, testing it again, and then they're testing it in a staging environment, and they're deploying the code. And it either works or it doesn't, or maybe it doesn't work as good as it should, and some of it backs up. Now what we want to do is connect it directly to the cloud. And what we want to do is not just promote code with those tools, but we also want to recreate the entire infrastructure, not just the code, but the network, the storage, the databases, the firewalls, the web servers, the application servers, everything can be done in code. And that's what CloudFormation does. It allows you to do that. And that's what Ansible does, which is right next door. In Nirvana, we're checking code in and out, we're merging it in Jenkins, and we're going on, and then what we're doing is we're using a tool like Ansible or CloudFormation to also create our infrastructure. And in the perfect world, the only thing that we have done individually is keep track of our pipelines and our code that's creating the infrastructure and make sure it all works well. But we're not actually manually doing what he's about to do. CloudFormation, hey, how many times have you been in the dev shop and you've heard the complaint, well, we didn't have that box in production, and so that's why it broke, right? So the nice benefit of cloud is that you can build your infrastructure stack, which he's about to do, with a command or two, test that code, test that deployment, and it can look exactly like production, right? Exactly like production. And the reason why that's cost beneficial is because when you're done in a few minutes or hour or whatever, you can kill it and your bill is done, right? So that's the big advantage, the multiplier effect of continuous integration married up with cloud. It's not as big if you don't have cloud. Why? Because if you're spinning up without cloud, if you're spinning up VMs in the development environment, you're still spending money, with VMs, right? It's still there. That whole infrastructure is there. Secondarily, even though you're doing that, let's be honest, you're still not duplicating the entire production infrastructure. You're just not going to do it, not cost effectively. So it allows you to produce everything in a development environment that looks exactly like production. Hopefully fewer surprises in staging the code, staging the environment. Configuration management improves So when you make a mistake or if there's a problem, you're going to learn from it, you're documenting it. In a conventional world, if Joe leaves the company, his knowledge may go with him, and you may kind of have to start over and learn those lessons again. But if you're doing infrastructure as code, then it'll still be in the company, and you can just continue to improve on it.
You can check that code in and out just as you do anything else.
IT staff has to retool. Developers need to start thinking about infrastructure. Infrastructure people need to start learning more about the code itself because they are coming together. Infrastructure people, you're going to see here in a minute, are going to have to learn how to do a little code. You're going to have to. Okay, really briefly, I don't know if you want to go into any of this or not, but whether the CloudFormation script, which this is program code, kind of. But it's basically something that gets interpreted to build things in the background. And whether if the script is this big, like that is, or whether it's this big, it all has kind of this sort of format. It's got a beginning and an end. Now we're in the second part of this lab, which has not anything really to do with S3. Now we're going to start building the whole stack. So we're not going to run the MySQL, but we're going to build everything else, and we're also going to auto scale multiple instances, and we're going to run it with an ELB, elastic load balancer, so that we can fire off between different. That's all going to be done in a script, okay? So the first part is we're just going to build the PHP instance. In this part of the script, this bigger script, we're defining what are the two allowed machine types, T2.micro and M4.large. So now you can say, well, I'm a programmer, I could change that, so what's the big deal? Well, no, if you set the security up in your account, you can have the guy that's running the code not have access to the script, right? And then so whatever he's going to write, he can only have access to whatever, you name the resource. We're not going into the security side of that today, but then below that, you can start to see your other question, which was, here are the different regions that will host or that you can launch those instances from. So those are just two of them. And actually, I deleted them all because I just kind of redundant. You just see that you could see the fact that you can identify what regions that they're available in. So I just was trying to keep things simple.
So we're completed here.
He's loaded all that code. So that stack created the instance itself. It's running T2 micro. And it's also created the PHP and the web service itself. Part of that script that we didn't see loaded Apache, okay? So that was part of the script. It loaded Apache, and it loaded PHP on top of that.
Should I show them that in the script?
Yeah, can we see that screen?
Sure. So,
Come on down.
much longer script, obviously.
Slow down, right there. So right here, web server. First
Packages.
we loaded Yum, the package handler. Then we loaded the web server, and then we loaded a PHP. Okay? And there's some other stuff in there. You can spend some time in there, trust me. But that's basically what we did, is we loaded those two things, okay?
Make sense? Okay.
Oh, you might as well hit the website, because I believe it's responsive, so. And the way you want to do that is go back to your, go back to CloudFormation,
Okay.
and,
And go to resource.
yeah. Go to outputs.
Outputs, sorry.
Outputs.
And,
Oh,
I'm
select
on
the
the wrong
stack.
stack.
Select it. There you go. Outputs. So he selected the stack. He selected outputs. This is what it gave us. Just go ahead and click it. You should see the hello world type of.
There we
Did you click it?
go. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. So one thing, if you're a developer, then play around with that a little bit, right? Easy enough to change those things. All we're doing is deciding that our web server is now too busy. We need to upgrade it to a better machine. It's just too slow, I guess. So all we're going to do now is edit this script to upgrade the machine. You remember we had two choices. We had the micro, we had the M4. Now we're going to option it to the M4. Okay.
All right,
So
so
you
I
wanna-
took that particular stack and I hit update. Going next. Remember, the script only allowed for 2 choices, so I'm just gonna pick the second choice.
So for the instances that you created and you're about to upgrade, let's say that there is some storage attached to it, and then you have some files, for example, in the mount.
Mm-hmm.
Would those be erased out or would it be retained?
If you deleted the stack,
Not the delete, but if we are going to upgrade it, right?
oh, yes, it'll move with it. Absolutely, all the resources will move with it, for sure. Does everybody see that? The micro is about to go away and get replaced with the M4 large. The question was, do you have to add a key pair every time? And you know, we didn't when we first did it. We didn't have one.
Right.
So all we're trying to do is increase the level of security, and that script provisioned a key pair, or
Right.
not the actual key pair, but the option of a key pair. But every time you run that script, now you'll have to have one. Yeah, was that, okay. I don't think they store your private key, but I've not heard of that. Obviously they keep the public key, but I'm just saying that if you download a private key from them, make sure you put it somewhere else other than just one machine, because I don't know about y'all, but I'll rebuild my machines at the office frequently, especially if I'm working in a VM environment. And it's kind of not a good surprise when you blow away the wrong VM, it's got your key pair or your private key. So it did.
We restarted, yeah.
Well, no, we deleted the instance, created a new one, right?
So
Hold
we
up.
scroll up, delete complete, delete in progress, delete in progress.
They updated it and it created a new instance. Actually deleted it, so it replaced it. That's the way I read it.
Yeah, I think the reason is AWS can place the public key only when it's creating the instance. Once it's created, it doesn't have any
Right.
access to put the keys in there.
Right.
So that's why it had to shut down, create a
Mhm.
new instance.
Great question.
This is key, yeah.
So this is the last one. So this is going to add, okay, so if it's the last one, it's going to add auto scaling and an ELB. Okay? It's going to do both those things. Does everybody know what an ELB is? Anybody not know what an
That was gonna be my next question.
a load balancer? Do you know or?
No.
Okay, so I was going to let you.
Oh, you'll be a load balancer?
Yes.
Elastic load balancer.
Okay, a load balancer is a device that distributes web traffic to different web servers. The web servers are configured and they're built identically. And because you want to spread the load out, you put a box on, say, above it. The traffic comes into the load balancer, and the load balancer just distributes the traffic to each web server evenly. Most times. You can do it different ways, but the default is evenly. So that way, if things get a little bit busy, then you can create more instances using the same script and same code, and it's easy, right? And you can also schedule it, which, by the way, nice segue, you can do that with auto scaling. So auto scaling is a way to say, okay, Mr. Load Balancer, if it gets so busy, create one automatically. Create another one automatically. So the ELB, the load balancer, then will have 1 or 2 or 3. This first one that he runs here, even though it's going to have an ELB, it's only going to be configured for one server. But then if we have enough time, we'll just show you real quick how to change that script to 2 servers. Okay? Did
So-
you do all that already?
Well, I'm about to hit update, but I just wanted to point out, here's the preview of the changes. A lot of stuff going on. Obviously, we're making a load balancer.
When we're spinning up, EC2 instances, for example, is there a way where you guys could check for, certain parameters to say whether this instance is actually, up to standards that we're going to create? For example, let's say, if I were to say, hey, does this instance live up to the, SLA that actually
Yeah, sure.
is promised?
So that's the auto scaling. One answer to that is yes. There's many answers to that. One is you're going to monitor that with, say, CloudTrail, for example. It's just a way to capture alarms, and then you can actually use CloudTrail to affect the auto scaling. So if you've got a problem with one instance, that it would automatically take it out and replace that instance. So you can. That's a different lab. It's deeper, But that's something, if you're going to get into this, you will get there, right? The other thing,
I was just going to say, don't think of what we're doing here with CloudFormation limited to the services that we're demonstrating. There's at least 20 or more services. AWS is, of course, trying to enable as many services as possible into their CloudFormation repertoire of things you can take advantage of.
Okay, still going, right? All right, it actually didn't fail. That's actually a big thing. Hey, good job.
So what's our new IP?
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
So what is our
Outputs.
Yeah, there you go. So we're going to go to the output.
Right? So now we got an Elastic. I'm going to make a new tab so nobody freak.
All right.
Okay, so here we go. Highly available, low bounce stack, updated version of updates.
But now let's look around a little bit. What should we see? Let's go to the autoscaler first. Let's go to the autoscaler. So EC2.
All right.
Okay, so look, desired, we have one machine that we actually have told it to do. We have a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 3. Well, we're going to have 1 right now in case it's, So if, on another tab, go to the EC2 and let's confirm that we have 1 instance. Let's play with it a little bit. Let's see if we can update the number of instances, the minimum. How do we do that? Anybody want to tell us how we can update the minimum number of instances in our number of servers? Anybody know the answer to that? How would we do that? Right now, sorry?
The template?
Yeah, you could do it with a template.
Be running the stack again.
Actually, you know what? To be honest, that is the best answer. In terms of an IT shop and change management, that is the answer. But for the purpose of this class, how can we do it with our dashboard?
Call middle of the night. You need to increase the number of instances.
Edit.
Edit. Yes.
Edit. Desired 2. Go ahead and change the minimum to 2, just for grins. And then update. Okay, now let's go over to your EC2 dashboard and let's see what happens. So now we should see another one coming up, right? Soon. It might take a little bit. Here is where you would go to get the public IP of the load balancer, right? So this would be the one IP address that you'll hit for your web traffic, and that IP address, that box will distribute to the other 2 web servers. So that works, right? So what about now if we decide to go ahead and go directly to one of the web servers? Remember what I said a minute ago, it's probably not going to work because the security group has changed. So let's try it. Let's see if we can get away with it.
Okay, so we are not going there. We're going to go to our EC2 instances, right?
Yep.
Let's just go there. And if I look at the 2 running instances, let's go to the new one. And there's the public IP address. Right? It's a different address than the one I had.
That's all right.
Which is what we want, right?
Yep.
And I'll just go to it.
Okay, so it's not going to work.
And it's going to vomit.
So let's just go ahead and go right and let's go find out why. Let's go back to the EC2 instance and let's look at the security group. So if we just click on the security group, this is the server itself that we're looking at the security group on, okay? So let's look at inbound. How do we handle inbound traffic? And right now, as you can see, HTTP is not open to the public. It is just going, basically that allows it to talk to the load balancer. That's all that's doing.
Right. That's the only traffic it'll accept.
So what we want to do is change that to say 0000/0, which means all accept traffic from anywhere, including the load balancer.
Okay. That should be pretty immediate.
Now let's see how that, go back up to that tab.
And it was 173,
Should be already there.
Right?
I think it's the third tab.
Third one? That guy.
There it is.
And there it is.
Just hit it. Just hit it. It does take about a few seconds.
You saw what we did there?
Is everybody good on that?
Brian, you're good? Any questions? Anybody?
How does the load balancer handle sessions, web sessions?
It can be configured in a many different ways, whether like if we're sticky sessions or not. It's kind of a complex deal. There's a lot of stuff written up about it. It's really a kind of a very long-winded subject. So it depends on how your application is written and how you want to function. You can terminate SSL on the ELB itself. You can terminate you can carry it through to the instances. So it just depends on what you want, but you can configure it.
So
You know.
by default, is it round robin or?
By default, unless you tell it otherwise, I believe it's round robin, yeah.